Let's talk about the voice in your head. You know the one. It's that constant narrator, the one that's actually processing these words right now. We all have it. So what we're going to do here is pull back the curtain on that inner monologue. We're going to explore how we can go from being its prisoner to, well, being its conductor.
No, really. Just for a second. Listen in. What is it saying? Is it curious? A little skeptical? Or maybe it's already jumping ahead, thinking about your to-do list for later. See, that little voice is always on, whether we're paying attention to it or not.
And that right there, that's what we call self-talk. It's this endless stream of unspoken thoughts just chugging along in the background. Most of the time, it's totally on autopilot. But here's the kicker. It has this huge moment-to-moment impact on how you feel, what you do, pretty much everything.
But, for a lot of us, this inner voice isn't exactly a cheerleader. In fact, it can be our absolute harshest critic, pulling us into what feels like a self-doubt spiral that can seem almost impossible to escape.
Ugh. Sound familiar? That sting of instant self-criticism. A thought that can pop up after the tiniest little mistake, and man, it feels so personal and so true in that moment.
And when that becomes a habit, well, that's when you start seeing these real-world consequences. We start second-guessing ourselves constantly. We feel stuck, like we're paralyzed by our own thoughts. Every little decision becomes this massive, over-thought-out drama, and we end up desperately wanting that big mindset reset, but it never quite sticks, right? That's because the underlying programming, the self-talk, hasn't changed a bit.
So how in the world do we fix this? Well, the answer isn't about just forcing yourself to be positive. It's about developing a pretty amazing cognitive skill. Honestly, it's kind of like a superpower called metacognition. It's the ability to think about what you're thinking.
And this is where mindfulness comes in. Now, forget any ideas you might have about it being some mystical, complicated thing. At its core, it's just what this definition says. It's the skill of paying attention to your own thoughts and feelings as they're happening, right now. It's basically metacognition in action. This slide, this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. On the left, that's our default mode, right? A thought pops into your head, you immediately believe it, and boom, you're swept away by whatever emotion it brings. But on the right, that's the mindful approach. You notice the thought, you see it for what it is, just a temporary little event in your mind, and you don't have to get hooked. It's the difference between being in the hurricane and watching it from a safe place. Okay, so that all sounds pretty great in theory, but how do you actually do it? The best part is that the practice itself is incredibly simple. It's not about achieving some enlightened state. It's just about a gentle, repeated practice. I mean, it really just boils down to these 3 steps. You find a seat, you focus on something physical, like your breath, and then, and this is the most important part, when your mind wanders off, which it will, you just notice and gently bring it back. The point isn't to have a perfectly empty mind. The rep you're doing for your mental muscle is that little moment of returning your focus over and over again.
And this quote from John Kabat-Zinn, who really pioneered bringing this into modern medicine, he just nails it. On purpose, so it's intentional. In the present moment, you're right here, right now. And non-judgmentally, you're doing it with kindness. That's really the whole game.
So what actually happens when you start practicing this consistently? Well, we're not just talking about feeling a little bit calmer. The science is pointing to some really profound, measurable changes, not just in our mental health, but in the actual physical structure of our brains.
Take a look at this number, 50%. What on earth could that be? I mean, that's a huge number, and it represents a massive shift in how we can think about our mental well-being.
It's the reduction in relapse rates for major depression. Yeah. Studies on something called mindfulness-based cognitive therapy found that for people who've had depression before, this practice can cut the chance of it coming back in half. That is absolutely life-changing. And it gets even crazier when you look at the brain itself. Practicing mindfulness can physically change your brain. We're talking about thickening your prefrontal cortex, that's your decision-making center. It can actually shrink the amygdala, the brain's little alarm system. You are literally rewiring your own hardware to be more resilient and less reactive. So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this simple but completely revolutionary idea. You are not your thoughts. That voice in your head isn't the whole you. Thoughts are just things that are happening in your mind. They aren't the essence of who you are. Now, because this has gotten so popular, we have to take a clear-eyed look at how it's being sold to us today. Because, well, not all mindfulness is created equal. Critics have started pointing out this trend they call McMindfulness.
It's where the deep ethical roots of the practice, which are all about compassion and wisdom, get stripped away, and instead it gets repackaged as a self-help commodity. A quick hack to lower your stress just enough so you can be a more productive employee, totally removed from its original meaning.
And make no mistake, it is a massive industry. The whole mindfulness market is worth over $4 billion. Now, that doesn't mean every app is bad, but it does show you how easy it is to water down a really powerful practice into just another product on the shelf.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What would change in your life, in your work, your relationships, your very sense of who you are, if you could just learn to listen to that voice in your head, not as the absolute truth, but just as noise you could choose to listen to or simply let go?